Okay, this is Orlando Wilson, and what I'm going to talk about in this video is running training courses, one aspect of running training courses. I've done a video recently, reference organizing training courses, etc. What I'm going to talk about here is throwing students in at the deep end. And a lot of times, I say on my courses, be it online, be it physical courses, we throw students in at the deep end. Why? We want them to swim. It's very difficult in the commercial world when you're working with very limited time frames, 5-day courses, etc., to be able to train people to what could be classed as a proficient level in the military, police, etc. We don't have the time. We're not going to have the time to babysit and nanny people through courses, through just topics such as firearms. If I remember right, in the British military, when I was in how many years ago, for the first 2 weeks you were learning your weapon, learning the SA-80, and you fired your first round under strict supervision after 2 weeks. I think, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't know what it's like these days. You know what, in comparison to, let's talk about the state of Florida in the United States, people come to you to 2 or 3 hours. I think my CCW course is 4 to 5 hours, which was some of the longest. And I asked people to shoot a minimum of 50 rounds. People are coming to you for 4 to 5 hours training to shoot 50 rounds to be then able to carry a firearm in public for defensive purposes. So in those 5 hours, you need to make sure you're teaching simple, basic techniques that the person can actually use to protect themselves. 4 to 5 hours is a vast difference than 2 weeks in the British military to fire a shot under strict supervision, and you're not going to be carrying a weapon for any duties, if I remember right, for the first 4 to 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is where, with a lot of the training courses we run, we throw students in at the deep end. We get them out doing exercises. We get them out, even on my online courses, I throw people in with advanced taskings because one reason, I want them to make mistakes. And I've done another video about this, about making mistakes. Why do I want my students to make mistakes? Because you learn more from making mistakes than you do by doing everything right. And I've said how many times before, if you're not making mistakes, you're not training. Be it physical training, be it online training, be it whatever you're doing. You need to be making mistakes because that proves you're pushing yourself. If you're not making mistakes, your training's too easy, up at a level. So again, by throwing people in at the deep end, they learn quicker because they have to. They learn quicker and a lot more efficiently than if you're holding their hand and nannying them through a course. So a lot of the stuff we do with people, I've had some people criticize saying, oh, but they shouldn't be doing it at that stage. You know what? People can do it if they're properly trained and properly guided. And again, once somebody makes a few mistakes, and as long as they realize they're making mistakes and they have the personal, how can we put it, the confidence to make those mistakes, and they're not insecure enough to have a meltdown when they make a mistake. As long as they're secure in their personality, character, and they're confident enough, most people, when they're making mistakes, will learn from that a lot quicker than if they're nannied through and patted on the back and given group hugs, etc. Failure can be an excellent motivator for people to push forwards. But again, it takes a certain type of person, which is usually the type of people we deal with and look to deal with. We're not interested in people that can't handle failure, because failure is a part of life, making mistakes are part of life, and you need to be able to learn to swim. If you can't do it in training, you're not going to do it in reality. You're a liability. So that's a little chat about training and throwing people in at the deep end. From somebody that's been running training courses now for a long time, it's always worked out good for me, good for my students, because they learn valuable lessons very, very quickly. Rather than, they said, if they're sat on their ass watching PowerPoints and being told how wonderful they are. So don't be afraid, if you're an instructor, to throw your students in at the deep end and watch them swim. As long as everything's safe, as long as they're supervised, I'm sure you'll be surprised by the results. So follow me along on social media. There's more of these videos gone up on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., etc. And don't forget, I've read books on Amazon, crime fiction, also manuals to do about firearms training, kidnap, ransom, close protection, etc. And also don't forget, we supply a fuller range of training services, online and physical, also close protection services, investigation services, and consultancy services. So check out the content we have online. It's up on YouTube, Instagram, etc., etc. And if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions as long as they're relevant questions. But as with everything, especially if you're looking to get into the close protection business, which is a business, expect to make mistakes. And the best time to make mistakes is during training. And don't be afraid, as long as it's secure, as long as you're in a safe environment, as long as you're not costing anybody money or putting yourself or somebody else in danger. Don't be, how can I put it, try throwing yourself in at the deep end. Or if you're an instructor, throw your students in at the deep end and make them work. Make them learn from their mistakes. If they're not confident enough or they're not comfortable enough making mistakes and they're that insecure, then they're not cut out for I would say they're not cut out for the business world, period. Because in the business world, you will be making mistakes, you will be failing constantly. And generally, it's the people that, and can brush those mistakes or learn from those mistakes, brush them off and keep pushing ahead are the ones that succeed. If you want to be perfect, you're in the wrong business. In the close protection business, investigations business, you're always a student, you're always learning, and expect mistakes and problems to occur all the time. So a little bit of advice. In the meantime, as always, be good, stay safe, and try to stay out of trouble.